You know what I keep thinking about lately? It is this really strange contradiction that you see almost everywhere, but nobody really talks about it.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. The quiet stuff is always the most common.
Right. It's like, have you ever noticed how two people can earn the exact same salary for, 20 years? They
Right.
work the same hours, they live in the exact same neighborhood, maybe even on the same street.
Yeah.
And yet, down the road, their lives look completely different. Like one of them ends up quietly wealthy,
Mm.
they're secure, they don't panic over a broken water heater or a car repair.
They just have peace of mind.
Exactly. But then the other person, working just as hard for those same 20 years, has almost nothing to show for it. Maybe a driveway full of cars that are losing value and just this constant heavy hum of money stress.
It is so common. It is one of the most persistent illusions in modern life, honestly. We see it in our own families or friends, the people we work with every single day.
And it makes you wonder, like, what is the secret? Are they just lucky?
Well, the thing is, a high salary often acts as a mask. It hides a really fragile bank account. But because our society measures success by what we can see, the clothes, the cars, the house, the actual quiet mechanics of building wealth remain totally invisible to most of us.
Invisible. Yeah, that is the perfect word for it. And that is exactly what we are going to dig into today. We're looking closely at the hidden rules that self-made people use to build real wealth.
Mm-hmm.
And the most wild part about this rule, the one money rule, as some people call it, is that it has almost nothing to do with how big your paycheck is.
Which is such a relief to hear, right?
Oh,
But
yeah.
to really grasp this rule, we have to look at the trap that stops most people from ever using it. It is what we often call lifestyle inflation.
Oh man, the lifestyle creep.
Exactly. It is this almost universal human habit where your spending just automatically grows to eat up any new money you make.
It's so true. You get a raise at work, and suddenly that perfectly fine car you've been driving for 5 years just feels, I don't know, a little too old for your new job title.
Right, it doesn't match the new you.
Exactly. So a newer model magically appears in the driveway, or a bonus hits your account, and instantly in your head it turns into a luxury trip, or like a massive upgrade to your living room.
And that creates a really dangerous illusion. Many of us mistake a high income for actual wealth, but true financial awareness means you have to build a strict wall between those two ideas.
Between income and wealth.
Yes. Think of your income as the water flowing into a bucket. Wealth is the water that is actually left over after you patch all the leaks. You can earn a massive salary for 2 decades and still have zero wealth if every extra dollar is just spent on maintaining a fancy lifestyle.
It just drains right out the bottom of the bucket.
Exactly. It goes toward things that lose value the second you buy them.
Okay, so this brings us to the core shift in how we handle our money. The way successful people approach this is just totally different. And look, we don't need to re-explain the basics, right? Like, we all know a new phone loses value and a good mutual fund compounds.
Right. Everyone knows the basic math.
But the mindset trick is different. Wealth builders mentally sort their money into two very clear buckets. So bucket A is for lifestyle items, things that drop in value,
Yeah.
and bucket B is for assets, things that actually put money back in your pocket.
And this is where the one money rule really shines. It all comes down to the order of things. The rule simply says you must buy bucket B first.
Buy the asset first.
Yes, you let your comfort follow your income rather than letting your comfort consume your income. The simple order in which you buy things shapes your entire future way more than the size of your salary ever will.
That is so huge. Let's make this real for a second. Think about two neighbors who both get the exact same surprise bonus at work on the same Friday.
Okay, a windfall.
Yeah. The first neighbor takes that cash and buys some shares in a basic index fund, just locks it away. The second neighbor takes the exact same amount of cash and buys this massive, beautiful new living room set.
And we all know how this plays out. Fast forward just 6 months, the paths have already split. The first neighbor's money has basically been hired for a job. It is an employee now, working quietly in the background, earning dividends, compounding, and it doesn't require any effort from the owner.
No sweat, no tears.
Right! But the second neighbor, the money is just gone. The initial thrill of that new couch has completely faded.
The newness wears off so fast.
It really does. And to make it worse, they might even be stuck with a monthly payment. That awful EMI pressure if they put it on a store credit card.
Okay, wait. I have to push back on this a little bit.
Go for it.
Because it is so easy for us to sit here and say, just buy assets first, ignore the couch. But when your rent is eating up half your paycheck, And the price of groceries is just sky high right now.
It feels impossible.
Right. It sounds like advice that is only meant for people who already have thousands of dollars just sitting around. Like, isn't the point of earning money to actually enjoy your life? Yeah. Sometimes I hear this advice and it sounds dangerously close to telling people to just hoard all their cash, sit on the floor of an empty house, and never have any fun.
I am so glad you brought that up because that exact feeling is what tripped so many of us up. It is so vital to untangle that guilt and that fear.
Yeah, because it feels like you're just punishing yourself.
Exactly, but this rule is not about living a miserable life just to hoard cash. It is strictly about the order you do things. Nobody is saying you shouldn't enjoy your life or buy a nice couch. The rule just says you need to build a machine that generates more money before you spend your raw labor on comfort.
Oh, I see. So it's about building the machine that pays for the vacation instead of just using your own tired hands to pay for it directly.
Precisely. Take the trip, buy the couch, but let your assets pay for it eventually. Once you own an asset, it gives you a type of deep structural safety that outlasts any quick thrill from a shopping trip.
Right, because the shopping thrill fades in like 2 days.
It really does. And the reason this rule feels so hard when you are stressed about rent is because we focus on the dollar amount instead of the habit. The order of things matters even if you only have $50 extra a month.
Wow, just 50 bucks.
Yes. Because the habit of choosing the asset has to be built before the big money ever arrives. If the habit isn't there, any new money will just get swallowed up by lifestyle creep.
It's the habit. That shifts the whole timeline. But how do you actually do that in real life? Because saying buy assets first sounds great on paper, but when it's Friday night, you are totally exhausted from a brutal week and you just want a shiny new reward.
It is incredibly hard in that moment.
Yeah, it takes so much energy to say no.
Well, the human mind is really interesting here. It boils down to the power of delayed reward. It is that choice to skip a tiny, quick thrill right now in order to get a massive, lasting reward later. And the most hopeful part of this is that the ability to delay a reward is not something you were just born with.
It's not genetic.
Not at all. It is a muscle. It is a trained habit. Every single time you choose to put your extra cash into an investment instead of a quick status symbol, you are building that muscle.
They're carving a new path in your brain.
Yes. And over time, that choice becomes automatic. You don't even have to fight yourself anymore. You actually shift your core identity from being a spender to being an owner.
Spender versus owner. I love that so much. It really reminds me of this idea of seed money. Like, if you view a surprise tax refund as seed money, your identity decides what you do with it.
Tell me more about that.
Well, a spender looks at a handful of seeds and just thinks, man, I am hungry right now. I'm going to eat these.
Right.
But an owner looks at the exact same handful of seeds and thinks, wait, if I plant these today, they will grow into enough food for the next 10 years. You know,
Yeah.
you don't eat the seeds.
That is a brilliant way to picture it. And you see that exact mindset when you look at how real wealth works in the world. When you look at the accounts of people with a high net worth, their wealth doesn't just come from saving parts of their salary.
It doesn't.
No. The vast majority of what they have is tied directly to owning things like business equity and real estate.
So they completely broke the link between their wealth and their hourly wage.
Exactly. They used ownership. And what is even more fascinating is when you look at folks who built their wealth from scratch, so many self-made millionaires never had huge salaries.
Really?
Yeah, many of them just worked ordinary, steady jobs. Teachers, accountants, regular managers. They didn't make massive money.
Then how did they do it?
Their defining trait was simply living below what they earned and pouring the extra money into assets for a really long time. They built that muscle.
That makes so much sense. I mean, the rush you get from buying a fancy car to show off to the street. It fades so fast, our brains just get used to it. But the quiet safety that comes from knowing you own assets that are growing, that feeling just gets stronger over time.
And there is another hurdle we have to talk about. It's this funny thing our brains do called mental accounting. Have you noticed that people do not treat all money the same way?
Oh, totally. Like, regular paychecks feel serious, but a bonus feels like fun money.
Exactly. We label our biweekly pay as survival money, so we protect it. But a tax refund or a cash gift, we label it as play money. And because we label it differently, we spend it way less carefully. Windfalls are so vulnerable to getting wasted.
Which means if you don't already have a rule in place, your brain will just trick you into blowing the extra cash.
Every single time.
Okay, so we have the rule and we understand the mindset, but I feel like there are still these huge invisible walls stopping smart people from starting. Let's bust these myths.
Let's do it.
Myth number one. People think you need to already be rich before you can start buying assets.
Oh, that one is completely backward. Ownership habits must come before the wealth. You do not wait until you hit some magic number in your bank account to start buying assets. The very act of buying the asset is what builds the wealth in the first place.
Right. You have to plant the seed to get the tree.
Exactly.
Okay, myth number two, which we touched on, but it needs a bright spotlight. A high salary automatically means you are rich.
This is a dangerous one. There are so many high-earning professionals, doctors, executives who have huge cash flow, but they are drowning in debt. They are standing right next to regular earners who quietly built massive wealth.
Because income is just the raw material.
Yes. Income only turns into wealth when a piece of it is trapped and used to buy an asset.
Which brings us to myth number three.
Yeah.
And this one stops so many beginners. The idea that physical real estate or owning a huge physical store are the only real assets that matter.
That myth just breaks my heart because it keeps millions of folks from even trying. Things like simple index funds, retirement accounts, spreading your money out in mutual funds, they do the exact same job.
You don't need a massive down payment for an apartment building to be an owner.
Not at all. What you buy matters way less than the simple habit of choosing to be an owner instead of a spender.
Let's look at a real story to ground this. I was hearing about this person. Let's call her Sarah.
Okay, Sarah.
Yeah, she is a retail manager in her early 30s, makes a steady, decent income, but for years her money was just stuck in a loop.
The whole paycheck just vanished by the 30th of the month.
Exactly. It all went to rent, a crazy high car payment, and just keeping up with a friend group that loved spending money.
That pressure is so real.
Yeah.
And the emotional weight of living like that is heavy. When you have no safety net, you start feeling this quiet panic at night. The idea of the future just feels scary.
She was totally trapped in that lifestyle creep. But the turning point for her wasn't like winning the lottery or getting some massive new job.
What changed?
A friend at work just casually mentioned that they were getting a small raise, and they had already promised that extra money to an investment account before the raise even started.
Ah, they gave the money a job before it arrived.
Exactly. The idea of deciding what the money does before it hits your checking account just clicked for Sarah. So when she got her next raise, she fought the urge to upgrade her clothes or her car.
That is so hard to do.
It really is. But she just opened a simple investment account, and she set it up so a piece of her check moved over on its own every single payday.
She automated it. That is the genius move right there. She set up her life to bypass her own tired brain. Willpower runs out by the end of the week. By automating it, she didn't have to make the hard choice every Friday.
The system just did the heavy lifting.
Right. She made the smart choice once, on a good day, and the system repeated it.
And she said the amount felt so small at first, like throwing a tiny pebble into a giant lake. But just 18 months later, her whole world looked different. She had a real cash buffer, and she had money compounding in the background.
Which proves that getting started is so much more important than how much you start with. And, Sarah probably still goes out to nice dinner. She still has fun with her friends.
Oh yeah, her life didn't end.
But the order of things changed. She pays her ownership bucket first, and she lives her life on whatever is left.
Okay, I want to pivot a bit because we have to talk about the dark side of this. This is not some perfect magic trick. What happens when buying an asset means you have to borrow money? Or what happens when the thing you buy actually drops in value? Because markets go down, companies fail, things break.
Those risks are incredibly real, and we have to be honest about them. First, we need to clearly separate bad debt from calculated risk. Taking a loan with crazy high interest to buy a fancy car that loses value every day, that is just financial damage.
Right, that's just digging a hole.
But taking a mortgage to buy a property that pays you rent every month, that is a careful business choice. But, and this is a massive warning taking on any kind of debt, even for a good asset, is super dangerous if you do not have a cash buffer.
Because if life happens and you have no cash, you are stuck.
You become what we call a forced seller. If you owe a lot of money and you have no emergency cash, you are walking a tightrope with zero safety net. If you get sick or lose your job for a month, you might have to sell your great asset at a huge loss just to pay the light bill.
Wow, so you have to have cash on hand to protect the asset.
Exactly. Patience, cash, and mixing up your investments are the only shields you have against risk.
Which perfectly lines up with this other story I heard about a guy. Let's call him Michael.
Okay.
So Michael is a landscaper. Spends 15 years building this wildly successful business.
Sure.
And from the outside, This guy looked like he had it all. He drove a massive custom truck, lived in a huge house, and he was always taking out business loans to buy more equipment.
Oh, I think I see where this is going.
Yeah, literally all of his wealth was locked inside one single thing, his company.
So he was totally asset rich, but entirely cash poor.
Exactly. He had the bare minimum insurance, and he never bothered to build any personal savings outside of his landscaping work. His whole life was resting on one single leg.
Which is terrifying, because what happens when the weather turns?
Right. He hit two really bad, slow seasons back to back.
And the weakness of his setup was totally exposed. We see this with so many hardworking business owners. Without a cash buffer, the second the business slows down, their personal life crashes immediately.
It was a brutal wake-up call for him. He had to completely freeze all his spending. He had to build a personal cash fund for the very first time in his life, and he finally started putting money into regular index funds that had nothing to do with landscaping.
Michael's hard lesson is such a deep truth for anyone trying to build a safe life. Just owning one big, impressive thing does not mean you are safe. True safety is about being tough enough to handle a storm. It means holding cash buffers, having good insurance, and spreading things out so one bad year doesn't wipe out 15 years of sweat.
Okay, so we've covered a ton of ground here. We know the rules, we see the risks. How do we actually do this? Like, what are the steps someone can take this week? Let's talk about the playbook for building this kind of life. Let's start with the mental side of it.
The first step in the mental game is naming your money before it arrives. Just like we talked about with the play money illusion, if you wait until the bonus is sitting in your checking account, the excitement will completely take over your logic. You have to decide on a calm Tuesday what you will do with any extra money that comes next month.
Decide when you're calm.
Uh.
Love that. The second step I found so interesting was this idea of a cooling off period. Like, if you get a promotion, you make a strict rule. You do not change your lifestyle for at least 3 months. No new car, no moving to a fancy apartment.
Just freeze the lifestyle.
Yeah. Because apparently getting a raise floods your brain with dopamine and it makes you super weak to advertising. Waiting 3 months lets your brain cool down so you don't just blindly inflate your life.
That is so smart. And once your mind is set, you have to build the systems. The whole point of the systems is to stop relying on your daily willpower. You need to physically separate your money. The cash you plan to invest needs to live in a totally different bank than your daily spending money.
Oh, because if you see it, you spend it.
Exactly. Just adding a tiny bit of friction, like having to open a different app, stops so much impulsive spending. If it is out of sight, your brain stops treating it like an option.
And then the ultimate system step, automate it. The money has to move to your investment account the exact same morning you get paid.
Yes, before you even have a chance to look at it and dream about what you could buy.
Okay, so we have the mental game, the systems, and then the last piece is the defense, keeping what you build.
Just like Michael the landscaper learned, you must build a cash buffer before you tie all your money up in investments. You never want to be forced to sell your growing assets just to fix a leaky roof. And you have to check your insurance.
Because one medical bill can wipe out a decade of saving.
Exactly. And the final piece of defense is just a quiet, simple check-in. You don't need a crazy spreadsheet. Just ask yourself every so often, is the value of the things I own growing faster than the amount of money I owe?
It's just a gentle compass check.
Yes, it keeps you aware without making you obsessive.
You know, what I find most incredible about this whole conversation is how beautifully boring real wealth building actually is.
Boring is profitable.
It really is. It has absolutely nothing to do with perfectly timing the stock market or finding some secret crypto coin. It is entirely about setting up a quiet system that removes your tired, emotional brain from your money choices.
That is the ultimate takeaway here. Financial freedom is not a place you suddenly arrive at one day. It is simply a direction you choose to walk. Small, quiet choices, repeated over many years, are so much more powerful than trying to make one giant perfect money move.
Every single time a new dollar enters your life, you are standing at a crossroad. And the deep, lasting peace that comes from being an owner feels infinitely better than the fake comfort of a fancy car funded by debt, or that awful stress of hitting zero every single month.
The order in which you buy things literally builds the walls of your future freedom.
I want to leave you with a final thought to chew on today. Going back to that idea of the seeds we talked about. Imagine if you stopped looking at your money as just a tool to buy stuff. What if you started looking at every single dollar in your pocket as an employee? If your money was a living workforce, how many of your own employees did you fire this week by trading them for things that immediately lose value? And how many did you put to work, building your independence.
These thoughts, these questions, they don't have to stop here. Money Geeks has many more podcasts and videos just like this one. Subscribe to the channel and explore other episodes. They all flow the same honest way. If this podcast felt genuinely useful to you, share it with even one person in your life. That one share can bring a real change in someone's life, and it helps Money Geeks reach more people who truly need this. If this brought you real value, look for the join button right next to the Money Geeks logo below this video. Click it and become a member of the Money Support Circle. Your support helps honest money awareness reach thousands who are silently struggling. Money Geeks moves forward because of you. Thank you so much from the heart for being here.